Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. And now we're aware, of course, that warmonger Butcher Barky Obama is now in Afghanistan celebrating another year of endless war and slaughter. And, of course, his wonderful innovation, his West Point speech of 1 year ago this week, where he essentially declared war on Pakistan. Check out the details at tarpley.net. Look at my article from that time, which was validated by leading observers in the region. So Obama's got a war policy. He's pushing tax cuts for the rich. He's pushing union busting. And there is at least a somewhat of an awareness in his left flank. He's also, remember, the person who brought you this cat food commission, the Bowles-Simpson Genocide Commission, that wants to strip you of your Social Security and your Medicare, among other things, and impose a whole series of regressive taxes that slam the poor and do basically nothing against the rich. That's all Obama. So Obama, the neoliberal, Obama now morphing into Bush before your eyes. So what are we going to do about it? Well, a key part of that has always been the fact that he's not constitutionally qualified to be president. So let's get an update on that front. And as usual, we want to go to our friend Phil Berg, distinguished attorney in Philadelphia, to see what's going on this critical front. Hello, Phil.
How you doing, Webster? Hello to everyone out there. And, Obama just surprised everyone. He went to Afghanistan. Maybe he'll decide to stay there and become president of Afghanistan. Wouldn't that be nice?
Well, according to WikiLeaks, the current guy is a paranoid. So maybe Obama, of course, a megalomaniac. Maybe he can qualify.
Perhaps. Since I last spoke to you, we put out a press release indicating what we're doing, stressing that now the last case was turned down by the Supreme Court, the case by the New Jersey attorney, I think it's Puzio. So at this point, I think we're the only one left, except for a case that's floating around out in California, and that's my False Claims Act case, Quitem. I mentioned to everyone that we're preparing that for it. It still has to be a writ of cert to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's a different basis because all the others have been turned down on standing, and the Supreme Court has not dealt with that. Our issue, as I've mentioned before, is not on standing because this type case has already been granted standing by the U.S. Supreme Court. But whether they'll have guts enough to handle the case, they should. I'm alleging conflict of interest, as I mentioned before. And our purpose of that case is that Obama is not only not natural born, he's not naturalized, he's an illegal alien. Therefore, he could not be a United States Senator from Illinois, and the salary and benefits of $1 million should be returned to the U.S. Treasury. And therefore, obviously, if he can't be a U.S. Senator from Illinois, he can't be president. So we're hoping the Supreme Court, but we have our doubts on that, so we're going to be proceeding. And we haven't finalized everything yet. I know I keep putting it off, but they're not in power yet, but we're going to do certain procedures against the new Republican leadership here to those that have subpoena power to be able to really, I think if they held, in my opinion, if they held one hearing on Obama's qualifications, I think the ballgame would be over. They have subpoena power, and if they would just subpoena Obama, that's why we have separation of powers, and they have the complete right to do it. It's under the Constitution. And that's where we're going to put on pressure very shortly. And when we do, we're going to ask all your listeners to join with us in our efforts.
Wouldn't it be easier, I mean, knowing these characters, right, their cowardice and their corruption, of course, are legendary. The path of less resistance for them is to subpoena the Secretary of State, I believe, of Hawaii, and that archive or records department out there. These are the people who claim, or at least they've hinted in public, that there is a birth certificate there. So it's not even Obama, right, who necessarily is the depository. It's the people of the state of Hawaii. So subpoena some official there and say, come and, Duchess, take them, bring the document with you.
That's true, but, and we have to remember that they've said they've seen his birth certificate, but they've never said it's from Hawaii. They've implied it, but they've never said that. That's a good point on that you have there. Well, we'll talk soon about that off air before I decide what I'm doing. But that's a good point. But also, if they subpoenaed Obama in there, I mean, do you see any privilege he has of not coming before the panel?
No, it's just that he's not necessarily in possession of his own birth certificate, right? He could say, "I don't have it. I had it, but I lost it." And you're not required to have a birth certificate. In normal life, it's you are if you do certain things. But if you're just sitting there, right, maybe you're not. But the state, if the state has records, then those are a big, easy target, easiest thing in the world. Say, okay, Hawaii, open up the archive. We're sending a team. We want to look, right? That would be another way to do it.
No, that's true. Also, though, I would love to be there in the hearing room when the members of Congress would ask Obama, where were you born? What happened in Indonesia when you were adopted or acknowledged? What did you do at age 10 coming back? Even though, at age 10, this brilliant person would have knowledge of what transpired, and what records do you have right now to prove that you're constitutionally eligible?
But again, see, once you get into this, then if you go directly at Obama, then he can bring in all of this stuff about executive privilege and so forth. And of course, in the case of Clinton, that didn't help Clinton, right? He still had to testify, or at least he had to testify on tape, right? Not come into the dock of the committee. But rather than have all of that froth brought up, why not just go to Hawaii and say, Hawaii, you claim you have records, right? Those are public records. We're the U.S. Congress. We get to see them.
Well, that's a great point. And also, though, likewise, we could subpoena the records from immigration records to see what.
Absolutely, the State Department, his passport.
Yeah, right.
You could subpoena Occidental College, Columbia University, Punahou School. Open your files.
Right. Something out there, because I know if they would do it. Now, the pressure is going to be on them, and for all your listeners, and we're drafting something, and we'll hopefully people will help us on. To pressure the committee to do it. They have full powers to do this. But I have a feeling unless we pressure them right, they're going to play the game of, we're not going to touch that subject, which is outrageous. I mean, we're in a constitutional crisis. We're in a laughingstock of the world. As you say, he's even losing the left because the left doesn't want him in battle, and here he is over in Afghanistan talking to the troops. He doesn't really have a solid base left yet, I don't believe. So we're hoping, though, that the Republicans will do something. Obama came out, talks out of both sides of his mouth the other day. He said there's going to be the Democrats and Republicans working together. I should have worked with you Republicans more in the past, but I don't think there's evidence of that. But without getting into the issues, you're right. We're going to put pressure on them to hold hearings to get the Secretary of State of Hawaii and the Secretary, the records from the Immigration Department, the State Department records of Obama, and those records being subpoenaed. I believe that the committee can't. I believe that these sources cannot hide behind the executive privilege.
Oh, they don't have executive privilege. If Obama had a document in his safe, he could say, "No, you can't come into the White House and take my stuff." But it's sitting in the colleges, right, at Columbia and Punahou and Occidental and so forth. I would recommend this is the grist for a great press conference at the National Press Club, maybe the 10th or the 15th or the 20th of January, where you could get significant foreign press and others to come in. And you'd be announcing what you're drawing up now, right? The various things that you want to say vis-a-vis the new committees of the Republican-dominated House in particular.
Good point. Maybe we'll do that, and you'll join me there, and we'll check that out, and we'll keep all your listeners up to date on what we're doing. It's essential. It's essential, though, that we don't lose people at this time.
Right.
People, please go to my website, obamacrimes.com, OBAMACRIMES.com, and pass it on to your friends. And if you can make a donation to us to help us, then we would greatly appreciate it. And I
would say make a donation so Phil can go to the press club in the middle of January and put this right in the middle of the political mix. We'll see you next week, Phil. More power to you.
Hey, thank you.
And we'll be back in a minute on World Crisis Radio.